Okay, hey everyone. So this week I've got Isaiah with me from Man Down Photography. He's a videographer, and which I just think is so important in this day and age. With video is like really taking over. There's so many people who are doing their own YouTube kind of TV shows as well, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Cohen Ray, and even like smaller names as well these days. And I think it's something that's just so important to be able to get your name out there, get your brand out there. And I really see it as something that's taking off at the moment, and it's just going to get more and more relevant over the coming years, I think, as well. So I wanted to get Isaiah on today to talk a bit about what he does, to give you guys a couple of tips, and I guess let's just get started with thanks for jumping on for this interview, Isaiah.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Could you just explain a little bit about how long you've been in business for, and what exactly it is that you do and that you help people with?
Okay, so I've been in business, specifically photography, for 5 years. Before I got into photography, I had a skateboard business where I sold custom-made and Australian skateboards. I had to photograph those products to put them on the website, obviously, and I actually discovered that I enjoyed photography and videography more than I actually enjoyed selling those skateboards. So I made the slow shift into photography and videography 5 years ago. I was still at school at that point, and I was at school up until 2015 was the year I left. 2016 was my first full year as a photographer-videographer, but I was running the business those years beforehand.
Yeah, awesome. I was going to say you look young. People on the podcast can't see you, obviously, but anyone who's watching the video can. But so how old are you?
So I'm 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so awesome that you've been doing, being in business for quite a while now and been doing it from such a young age.
Yeah, so, it was predetermined for me that I didn't want to work for anyone else. At a very young age, I figured that out. Yeah. I enjoyed skateboarding, but wasn't actually very good at it. So the next best thing for me was to sell them.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. And so where do you think that drive came from? Did you have parents who had their own businesses, or?
So my mum's always worked for someone else, but my dad got laid off. I think it was before I was born. He got laid off. He got a week's pay and decided that he would start his own business. He really didn't have an option because he got laid off and he started getting inquiries before he'd even put anything out there about fixing machines. He's a CNC repairer mainly, but he does a whole lot of stuff. So yeah, he was getting lots of inquiries to go repair other people's machines, and that's just developed into him running his business for, I don't know how long he's been running it, but probably over 20 years.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. And so what do you think that you learnt from your dad to be able to take the path that you've now taken?
I definitely have learnt a lot from him. Even just like, how do you do your first quote? How do you do your first invoice? How do you follow up customers? all these different things that seem really basic, but if you've got no one there to show you the first steps, it's hard to take that leap. Especially, obviously, you can Google it or whatever, but a lot of people need that permission to take that first jump and step. And if they've got someone in their life who's already done that, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, totally. I grew up with two parents who are entrepreneurs. So my dad's always had his own business. He's a plumber welder, and he's just bought a very large company as well. So he's got multiple companies. And my mum's a hairdresser and always was mobile hairdressing and had her own salon. So I've grown up around it. So I can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so what would you say are what started you to get into business with the skateboarding, and then how did you find that transition? Like, you already explained a little bit about how it came about, but did you find it hard, or like how long did that take to transition?
So the reason that I really got into selling them, obviously I wasn't very good at it, but when you see so many people getting around on skateboards at the skate parks, particularly at the time that I started it, it was a trend. In my head as a kid, knowing that my board was worth $120, and you see, 30 kids at the skate park all on skateboards, just in my head, I made those links that, hang on, if I sold these, there's tremendous opportunity here, especially as a very young kid. $120 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that was exciting opportunities there. And, bought lots of stock and got the website up. And then the transition took, it was a pretty instant transition, to be honest, because the website that I had developed, it was pretty ordinary. I paid a lot of money to get it developed, and they did a bad job of it. And when the domain came up to renewal, it was like, I'm not passionate about this anymore. I know what I'm passionate about now, so I'm just not going to renew that, and I'm going to go straight into photography. But what I am extremely glad that I started that skateboard business, because it allowed me to make my mistakes there.
Yeah.
Some of it, they're not bad mistakes, but just poor management during that time that I wouldn't want transferred onto this business.
Totally. Yeah, you're learning those lessons when you're starting out. Yeah. As like my first ever business coach, he said that I was a personal trainer first for 2 years. When I was like 24, I started my first business. And so I did that for 2 years. And then I started coaching personal trainers and coaches, because I saw so many of them struggling in business. And my first business coach said that first business was my training wheels business. So I think it's a similar kind of thing that's happened with you as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. And so what would you say are like the advantages, but also the disadvantages of being a young entrepreneur?
Right. So my first big job was I got a wedding. I got an inquiry to do a wedding, and that was my first real money job, you could say, where it was serious work. It wasn't like, come take photos for $100 or whatever. It was a serious job. So I was 12 at the time. And yeah, so I got this inquiry, and at that stage, and still to this day, I didn't publicly display my age. I just put my photos up, and people can think whatever they want.
Yeah.
And so I get to that meeting, and it's like a 12-year-old walks in. It's like, they were a little bit confused at first, obviously, and then I explained, this is what I do and whatever, and they were reluctant at first. And then, and it's a real good quote that I got off someone else, is, you picked me on my work, not on my age.
Totally.
And that was the tipping point where they were like, okay, I'm comfortable with this now. And they were happy to work with me after that. And once I had done that initial wedding, it opened the doors to a lot more, because people had that trust that I could do it. And my first wedding clients were teachers as well. So that helped, because they were used to dealing with younger people.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's a great lesson in, any area of business. Someone has to have that trust and like you to be able to do business with you. You're not going to go into business with someone who you don't trust,
Yeah. Definitely early on, and even like still now, I get inquiries, or I get meetings, and as soon as they find out my age, they step back. I had a situation just the other day where I was literally walked in for a meeting that was meant to take half an hour, walked in, shook the guy's hand. He was really interested and all of that. And, it was progressing. And then he asked me my age. And as soon as I told him my age, he took a step back. He was using all the triggers to try and get you out of a conversation. He's looking at his watch. And I just ended the meeting there. I just said, thank you. It was nice talking to you. That's it. Because he didn't want it as soon as he found out my age. And that was enough for me not to want to do business with them. and it's happening less and less as I get older, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's something, and that's why I don't publicly display it, because I've had a lot of, I've got a lot of clients that I know wouldn't have reached out had have they known my age initially.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just for everyone listening as well, like I didn't really know much about you. I met you in a Facebook group from an event that I went to last year. And so I didn't really know anything about you. And when you told me your age before, I thought that was cool. Like I took it the total opposite way to what a lot of people would, because I don't know, that just gives, it stands you apart, you know, and it gives you something extra, I think. It doesn't do the opposite for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's people like, have you heard of Caleb Maddox?
Yeah. I actually saw him speak in Sydney.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, so there's people like him that are just amazing, you know, and I think it's awesome to have more people who are young. Like I would have loved to, you know, be confident and sure of myself and know what I wanted earlier on. But yeah, I can just hear the confidence in your voice as well with that story you just told, because most people, you know, no matter what their age, a lot of people wouldn't have that level of confidence to be able to walk away and pick and choose their clients. So I think
the second that you don't have trust in them, it's over. You don't want to work with someone that you don't trust, and they don't want to work with someone they don't trust.
Exactly. Yeah, awesome. Cool. So can you talk a little bit about, so did you start with photography and then got into videography, or did you do both from the start? Or
So I started with photography, and it's still something I enjoy tremendously, and even I run a side business to the video and social media stuff, which is selling landscape artworks or renting them to businesses.
Cool.
But the reason that I got into videography was because that's where the market was going. I was doing photography and it was going good, but all of my photography clients were then looking for video. And initially I was passing them on to other people in the industry. But it got to the point where it was like, okay, I need to learn to do this. And I love doing video just the same as I love doing photography. But there's definitely more work in the industry for videographers nowadays, especially with so many businesses now getting onto social media.
Yeah, definitely. And so is that your main target market now? Small businesses that want to start doing those videos?
Yeah. So my main target for the last 2 years has been business to business. I've almost done no general public work for the last 2 years. It's all been business to business, and it's been mainly videos for their social medias, 1 to 2 minutes, the occasional ad, and then just photography on the side generally for them as well on top of those packages.
Yeah, awesome. And so how did you learn your skill set? Like how did you learn to be good at photography and videography?
So YouTube was where I started, as most people do. But just out like hundreds of hours on doing photography, just being out there in the field. I got into I got invited to a music gig when I was around that, I don't know, maybe like 11 age, and I got into the music scene there, which got me a lot of contacts with those people. No money in it, but I was shooting 2-3 shows a weekend.
Yeah, cool.
And like the skill set that I learned from shooting live music gave me a lot of my skills, and then just spending so many hours on it. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Spend time.
Totally. Well, it's like Malcolm Gladwell talks about in The Tipping Point. It's like the 10,000 hours is what gets you to be an expert in what you do. And I love what you said just then as well about, you know, so many people are so focused on, I've got to make some money, I've got to make a sale. Whereas you you did things for free to develop and become good or great at what you wanted to do. Most people aren't willing to put in that work, and most people are impatient as well. And I think that's a really good lesson in itself of just getting really good at what you do. And doing things for free in the beginning as well, so you can build that up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it doesn't only build, it doesn't only build your skill set up, but it starts to get you contacts and connections as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, what would be like some top kind of, maybe your top 3 tips that you would give to people around video, people that want to start having more of a presence with video for their social media, and things like that? What are the top 3 tips you would give to small business owners?
Okay, so a tremendous place to start is Snapchat or Instagram stories, mainly because it allows you to learn to get your message across very quickly within that 10-second or 15-second time period. And even if you have to do multiple snaps, you need to know how to wrap it up quickly.
Yeah.
So once you've done that for a while, you'll learn how to get your message across in a minute, and then you can bring on a videographer if you want to, and get some real good content done for your feeds and all of that, and to use on your website. Another good tip is in actually capturing the footage. Is a lot of people worry about, oh, should I get a good camera? What camera is the best camera? Use your iPhone. It's perfectly capable. It's 4K. It's actually above what you need. And focus on sound quality. If you've got the money, buy a microphone for it. A lavalier is the best microphone you can get for it. Rode make a thing called the Smart Lav. It's like $50 or $60, and that'll improve your audio quality in an amazing way. And then also lighting. If you don't have good lighting, people aren't going to pay attention to your message because they're too worried about looking at a blurry, hazy image. So focus on your lighting.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Cool. And so what do you think are the key reasons why people need to be using video, and how can they use it to be able to, I guess, grow their business?
So especially with my business, because I do videos to promote myself, people don't know the person behind my images until I started doing video. So they started to get a personal connection and trust with you before they've even met in person. I know even down at the event that I met you at, I was just walking out of the room, and one of the people attending said, hey, I saw you on YouTube. And talk to me. But it's like, so I don't have a huge YouTube channel. I think it's got like 250 subscribers, and one video's got 60,000 views, but all the others are doing pretty poorly.
Yeah.
And it's so, out of anyone in the world who could have viewed it, one lady in Sydney who I've never met before had viewed it through no connection other than just searching YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, the people you meet, and whilst you might not get a huge view count to start with, it's about who those people are. I think Caleb Maddox tells a similar story of he was doing a live stream, and he had like 3 or 4 viewers or something, but one of those viewers was like Grant Cardone's auntie or something. and that's like, that made him the connections that's helped him get to where he is today. So it's not necessarily about how big your audience is, because that's something that a lot of people say to me when they want to take on video work. They say, my social media isn't big enough yet to warrant taking on or bringing in a videographer. And it's a lot to do with who's viewing it rather than how many people are viewing it.
Totally. Yeah, I agree 100%, because, it's been so much, especially over the last few years or so, that everyone's like, they want to have a massive following on social media, or it limits their, their confidence, it knocks their confidence or their self-esteem if no one's engaged on their post or liked it or whatever. But most of the time, even if someone hasn't liked it or shared it or whatever, they've read it. And the other part of that, like you said, is like, it doesn't matter if 100 people have viewed it or 1, if that one person is the right person. Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Cool. So are there, I guess, just to wrap it up, are there any other kind of tips or things to look out for that you would recommend to small business owners? Anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, just go do it. A lot of people are holding off doing it, waiting until they, can bring on a professional, or hanging on until they've written 1,000 content ideas. Just start. Just pull your phone out and do the first thing that comes off your mind, onto Snapchat or Instagram stories. As I said, it's a great place to start.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work on the first go, delete it, try again. It's as simple as that. Just stop focusing on all the small shit and just make it
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, exactly. Because with videography as well, like with videos and YouTube and all the things that are going on, it's starting to get popular. But, you know, you wait another year, 2 years, 3 years or whatever, everyone's going to be doing it. So I think if people get in now, they're going to build a bigger following and they're going to get so much more out of it if they keep waiting.
Yeah, it's an attention grab at the moment, and it's going to be too late in a year or 2 years. People will be watching, but it will be nowhere near the amount that you can get if you start now.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So where can people find you if they want to check out what you do or follow you on social media or wherever?
So the best place to find me is my Instagram. It's just @mandownphotography. All my landscape work's there. And if you want to follow my more business-related work, it's just Facebook, Man Down Photography again.
Awesome. And I'll chuck the links in with this as well.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for jumping on. I just think it's amazing what you've done so far and really excited to follow your journey. And I just a big well done to you and what you've created in your life so far.
Thank you.
Cool.